I love your work. I love your music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've been listening to it. What's the myopia all about? Short-sightedness or tunnel vision?
So the interview is starting now?
Yeah, we've been started.
No, I had no idea.
It's just very casual. It's like, it's just a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just super just casual.
Not your usual.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, so it's just like...
it's relaxed and
right.
just conversation.
Okay. Yeah, so I should explain myopia.
If you want to. You don't have to. You're not under no obligation.
Yeah. The album I made before is called Citizen Glass, and it's an album about how our perception and the way we see the world is skewed by technology, and especially the way we see ourselves. And also, in a way, it sort of make us present ourselves in a different way. And
through the phone and all that.
Yes, but also in a more sort of fundamental way. The way we understand our own identity and understand our own story. In a way, there's something great about it because you are sort of pushed to become a little bit artistic around yourself. Like I think before it was artists were the only ones to sort of
express themselves.
Yeah, and made like a story about their life. And now we are all sort of by technology pushed to do that. And I think that has a creative potential that's interesting. But there's also something strange about viewing yourself from the outside. I'm not sure it's necessarily a healthy starting point.
Right.
For it's not necessarily nice to look at yourself in an objective sense. You're removed from your own subjectivity. So that.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I mean that you see yourself from the outside. You're not just in yourself in the moment.
Right.
And you see yourself with others' eyes. I think we all have to do that in a certain degree, but you look at yourself as an artistic project or aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
When you have, for example, a social media account, like even as a private person and you're displaying different things, you are suddenly aware of this narrative. And
why do you think that's unhealthy potentially?
I think it's both healthy.
Yeah.
It's interesting creatively, but right. I don't think it's always good to step out of yourself like that, and it can certainly create an element of paranoia. And
sure.
And
especially if you smoke a joint, I find.
Exactly.
Like if I post something and then I smoke a joint, I'm like, why did I do that? I can't. What? I'm an idiot. What am I doing? Like you get freaked out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because it makes you. I don't know. It makes you sort of. That intensifies that sort of self-perception or something that you're talking about.
Yeah. But there can be many reasons why. I think in a way the human beings that are alive today, the end result is because we survived on the savannah, because we were paranoid and awake and weren't eaten by a big animal. But we have all these alarm systems in our heads that are triggered, and I don't think the way the social media works is good for that part of our brain. So we have to sort of bypass it in different ways. But I also think there's something. I also thought it was something in our culture. Like we have a lot of biographies coming out and a lot of albums that are very personal. So in a way, it's like an ideal we have in our culture to
reveal ourselves.
Yeah. It's really it's interesting, but that's the ideal we have today. And
what we're doing right now, doing
exactly.
a podcast, it's almost like a public form of therapy then.
Yeah.
So it takes it to another place as well.
Yeah. What is interesting about podcasts is that you're very close to people without seeing them. and you can sort of, it's like you step into their minds and you don't have the visual cues. So I feel like you experience it in another way. It's the same with music. I feel like you can get very close to people without, you don't have to think about their physical beings or all these sort of social cultural cues. It's another way of experience, and I think podcast does the same thing. So it's for me it's definitely much more freer medium than all the visual social media forms.
Yeah. And that's Citizen Glass.
That was Citizen Glass. Okay, so I was doing that, and I was trying to find sounds that was representing this experience of being, that your perception of yourself and the world is being skewed by technology, and also a sense of paranoia. And then I realized that my own mind is also skewing things. It's not, I can't just blame it on technology. And it's a strange thing. I have this mind that I guess maybe everybody does. It's like it's a superpower. I can focus on something really intensely in an intense way, so I can finish an album and I can work very long time on the same thing. But it's also like a sort of a curse, because I can also obsess about extremely bad things, and it's so it's I'm also even afraid of the internet, because if there's something I get caught by, I will just jump into that rabbit hole, and then 6 hours later or 12 hours later, I'm like, what did I just do? Now I know everything about this thing that
Sounds familiar, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. But do you do anything in order to sort of deal with that situation? Like, for instance, I practice yoga every day, like purposefully, or get a mantra in my head, or like I guide my mind in the direction I want it to go actively. Like, that's one thing I've become more and more aware of. Do you do something similar? Meditate?
I used to meditate and exercise as well, but I haven't done it for a while. So maybe that's why I feel my brain is more scattered. Actually, I would say working on music has a similar effect.
Similar.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel it's like it really makes me focus. But now, for example, because there's a new album coming out, then I have to do all this promo, and I feel like my whole mind is just a big scattered weird thing. So I'm sort of longing for something to sort of focus things, and so maybe I should do some meditation. But I have different techniques. So when I make an album, for example, I don't have a smartphone, and I don't have internet on the computer I work on. And I try to sort of really limit this tendency of jumping into random rabbit holes.
So you stay focused.
Yeah, but the album is, it's not like the album is just about that. It's the way I'm working, but it's about this tendency of the mind to color things, and to over-focus, this tunnel vision, and trying to understand it, and trying to, because as soon as you get aware of this thing in your mind, you also, in a way, you can't trust your mind. You realize you can't trust how you perceive things all the time. And that can be very destabilizing. And so I wanted to explore that, and even just understand it myself from a musical perspective, which is sort of, I feel like is the most sort of whole perspective I have if I have to investigate something. Because if I only investigate it intellectually, then it's in a way, it has nothing to do with me anymore. But if I do it with music, it's with the entire of my being.
Yeah, you've invited your soul for the ride.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's how the soul speaks.
Yeah.
I think like music is like the language of God.
Yeah, that's what the Sufi says.
Is that what the Sufi says? Yeah. Do you have any kind of prayer practice or any sort of belief in a higher power or anything like that it factors into any of this? I say that, I ask that because I often ask for help, and from a higher source, whatever that may be, just because of the way this world is. I feel like this whole world is pushing us to do that. I was curious of your perspective on that.
I think I have this theory that music might be something left from when we were underwater creatures, and we were, like the certain kinds of whales.
Mm-hmm.
They have a collective nervous system. So somebody feels pain, and all of them feel pain.
Are you for real? They do?
They do.
They have a collective nervous system? I think humans do too. I think we are just unaware of it.
Yeah. That's certainly how I feel. It's like we all have this, like, I don't know.
And they sing underwater.
And they sing, exactly. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And we were all these water creatures once too. And I don't know, maybe music is sort of a relic from that, from when we just want to be one again, and feel the same thing, and or make sense of it, because I guess in many ways we do feel the same.
Yeah.
And even if we want to believe we are these singular, individual, unique beings, but yeah, but that's my best bit for what music is about, and maybe all of us doing music and all of us listening to it, we're just longing for this.
Trying to return to the sea.
Yeah.
It's the next album.
Aquaman Blues. That's the name of my new tune. But your music does have that ethereal, like, as soon as you said that it's resonates from the sea or whatever, it does have a quality like that. It makes sense.
It's always really hard to talk about your own music.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, but
it's hard to talk about music in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's also, I think that what I like about music is also that none of us really know what's going on. Why are we so affected by these sound waves,
Vibration.
Yeah.
Do you ever tune to 432?
432
instead of 440?
No, is that like an early music tuning, or?
Well, that's a good rabbit hole next time you allow yourself to go on the internet. Check out 432.
432, okay.
Yeah. I think it could be inspiring for you.
It's like a frequency where...
Well, it's like the sound waves, the sound waves and the vibrations are much more sort of symmetrical and beautiful. It's supposedly like it got tuned to 440 to be more sort of aggressive and more like more hard angles.
Yeah.
Whereas 432 is more just like, a flower.
So that means every time you're singing out of tune, you're just going for that. That's subconsciously.
No, but everything would be tuned to 432.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I do like out-of-tune singing.
Yeah.
It does. Out-of-tune singing is a little out-of-tune is more emotional.
Yeah. You just gave me the best apology for singing out of tune.
Yeah, but you don't sing out-of-tune.
Oh yeah.
At least not to my ears. But then again, I don't have perfect pitch. But yeah, check out 432.
432. Okay, that sounds. Is it connect? There's like this medieval tradition where they think they can communicate with the universe.
Yeah, that's 432.
That's the one?
Yeah.
I've heard about this. Oh.
Yeah, and so lately I write and I record. I've been doing it all in 432.
Ah.
But it's kind of a pain in the ass because then like your soft synths and stuff are all 440, and some of them allow for you to tune down to 432, but not all of them. But like, I love what you're doing with your voice and stuff like that, and how you're doing this detuning process and stuff on the new track I heard. It almost comes off sounding like a mellotron when it goes to the low voices or something like that, or is that all you and then you've sampled it down or tuned it down or what?
It's just my voice. So I just sometimes I really just like my voice pitched down more than my actual voice. I would love to be able to sound like that. I would pitch down.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, how do you pitch it down?
I just use a pitch shifter.
Okay.
And then I'll sing, if I decide to pitch it up 5 semitones, then I'll play it 5 semitones higher and sing it 5 and then take it down. It's a little bit of a project as soon as you have more voices going on. And it's not always sounding good, so you have to sort of sing to the pitch so it sounds good. Yeah.
That's cool. What pitch shifter do you use?
I'm working in Logic. I just use that one, and then I use another one called Elastic Pitch. Oh, okay. Which is very natural sounding.
Yeah. And you're doing the records all on your own, basically, or recording and writing, and producing and mixing and everything? Or do you have outside help come in?
I do it myself, and you saw the guy who came in, the tall guy?
There was 3 tall guys.
3 tall bald.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, there was this strange energy, and I was like, "That's wild." But then I was like, "Oh, because of the film stuff."
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't have the inside scoop on the drama going on.
Yeah, but I hate getting filmed. But the tallest guy.
But you're so you look twice as good as anyone else in this room. Okay.
At least twice.
At least. Yeah.
I think.
Double digits when compared to me.
Very kind.
So you got nothing to worry about.
But it's not so much how I look. It's like I don't know. I love radio.
Yeah.
And I also love that you forget about the camera, which I know it's possible. And but as soon as basically, the label, they sent me a list of promo, and then I just see filmed. No. And it's not because I'm super afraid of looking ugly or something.
Yeah.
It's more that I'm really bad at forgetting about it, the camera. Okay. Whereas radio, it's very close to just making an album.
Yeah.
Where it's just it's another kind of being, and then I also had a lot of bad experiences for promo before, where they just threw me into a room full of cameras and I couldn't get away. So I have a little post-traumatic stress around it that you guys you don't know about, And then also the label, sometimes they don't tell you, so they try to trick you, and then so you get super paranoid.
Right.
And the other guys, it's one is my manager, and he's just oh no, she doesn't like that, and tall guy is my husband, and he's a cameraman. He's taking all the photos of me and filming me. So he's oh my god.
Oh, he did your music videos.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and he's so tired of this problem because when we just have to shoot videos, I'm always complaining and
get over it.
Yeah, exactly. It's come on, now you're a big girl.
The third guy was the Blue Note guy.
Yes, and I just met him yesterday. Yeah, it's my new label. Yeah, so.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
it's very cool. But you were about to talk about getting outside help, and then you brought up the tall guy, your husband, aka your husband.
Yes, he's my secret weapon. Yes.
Right in the studio.
Yeah, because he will be okay, Agnes, now we have to finish the album and sit down with me and
help you,
sort of finalize things, because I'm
you'll be hey, is this one good or is this one, and you just bounce it off of him type of shit.
Well, actually I will try as long as possible not to play him anything, because he also has very strong opinions, but he helps me just say, okay, we have to finish it, because I will push that as far as I can.
Right.
Yeah. So it's but I also sometimes bounce stuff off him. He grew up with hip hop and has a different musical background than me. So he it's very good to hear his opinion. He'll be very quick with saying that's boring and that's too long, And it's also very good with mix. He wants clarity, and so I trust him.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like somebody there, sort of, not necessarily a producer, but another outside ear to bounce off of. But outside of that, it's just all you making the whole thing.
Yeah, so I don't play string instruments.
Yeah, but I was going to ask you about the strings.
Yeah.
It's quite, you use strings a lot in most of your stuff, I think.
Yeah, and it's sort of an accident I ended up doing that, because the first album I made, it's mainly piano, and then at some point I was like, I should add an instrument, and it was sort of random. Okay, maybe a cello. So it's a little bit more like that, and then I had different cellos in, recording with them, and I just edited and tried to mix it. I didn't know anything about mixing strings, so I just tried to do it as best as I could. And then that album it took off by surprise, and I had to go and tour a lot of places. And then I was like, okay, I bring a cello player. And then on that tour, I started to learn about how versatile the cello is, and you can have it as bass, you can do rhythms, you can do beautiful high things, you can loop it live and have orchestral. So that's the reason why I use strings today, because it's so similar to the voice, and then it also has bass, potential to be the bass in the music or the drums. So it's more like, I think the albums represents my own sort of development of understanding this instrument and what it can do. Yeah.
And do you write the string parts, or does the cellist contribute?
So it depends on how I wrote the song. So the songs are often written on piano, and then I'll think, okay, maybe I could replace it with a pizzicato or collegno part instead, and then I'll just try it out on a MIDI thing, and then I'll have a string player redo that. And then we'll sometimes just have some sessions where I just sing a melody line I have in my head, and then we do a lot of random playing, and then I'll edit it for a very, very, very long time. And then sometimes I end up not really using it, or just using one line. And then sometimes I use a lot of it, or something new comes out and I re-record on that. So it's not always the same. But I haven't really worked with the arranger. I like this, that accidents can happen and I can sort of develop from that.
And it sounds like more like it's a whole like quartet of strings or something too, or is it mainly just a cello? Or
so in Myopia, it's mainly violin that I pitch down.
Oh, okay.
But there's a bit of cello on a few songs. Yeah, and it's just one at a time. I'm recording, and then I add a new musician, depending on what I feel it needs. But I'm getting more curious about recording more strings, string players, because you get something nice going on that is out of your control. Maybe one of them is playing flat or something, and that can create something really nice, like you have on these old, for example, old Motown records, like another kind of dynamic. You will also, but that would also mean I would have to record in a bigger room. I'm just recording a tiny room where I'm adding all the reverb. Something it's totally under my control.
Right.
But I'm slowly getting interested in sort of going away from that and getting more live sounding, maybe older, more dynamic sounding string section.
Right. Yeah, there's a big quality to your music. It has like a big emotional, like it's also very big, you know, but minimal.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you explain that? Do you have big emotions that you're feeding into it, or have you ever considered that? Like,
so I like that the music is in a way minimal, because if it's sort of, I feel like I have to understand it myself, each element I add, and I want it to be transparent and clear what's happening. But then sometimes I like that you can build on that, and then it can become bigger and maybe a tinge of chaos can appear, because maybe that's how I experience things sometimes too, you know. I've never really started from that point, from the big and maybe more chaotic point. But yeah, I guess my music represents how I experience things. In many ways, I feel like it represents me much better than I'm able to express myself with words, or, you know, it's like much more pure and honest, and I feel sometimes like everything else is a little bit just like the result of social norms and, you know, how we have to behave in this world. But music is like somehow above that.
Yeah, it's from the ocean. But yeah, I heard you say, like, when with that song "It's Happening Again," that you were trying to express that what it was like to be inside of your head.
No, yeah.
And so, what is it like? What is happening again? What's the it's?
Yeah.
What's the it's?
Well, I don't know. Don't you sometimes feel like things are repeating?
Yeah, yes. I know what my it's is. I just want to know what your it's is. I mean, it's happening again over here too. You're not the only one, Agnes.
Yeah, I know.
That's why it's popular, because it's happening again all over the fucking place.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many annoying things happening again, I guess, for everybody, and but I also feel like that's just on a micro level or micro level, I guess you would say, but on a macro level, things are also happening again. I have that feeling too, like these patterns. So yeah, but I don't know if I can come with any specific examples that will make sense. But I think you know what I mean. It's just for me, the important thing about that song was I have that experience. Sometimes a feeling is happening again, and then I wanted that to be conveyed in the production of the music. Maybe a feeling is taking over your mind, and you're completely aware of it happening, and it's ridiculous, but still you're just taken by it, like a wave, and you're just but you're still able to register it completely. And then I wanted to communicate that also in the production. So it's strings and old instrument called Trautonium mixed together to make it. I didn't want it to be too beautiful. I want it to be beautiful, but also have this tinge of this metallic
menace.
Yeah.
Because it's is usually menace. A little bit of menace involved. Wait, so
yeah.
What's the instrument called?
Trautonium.
Trautonium? I mean, come on. How does an American say it?
Trautonium.
Trautonium.
Maybe Trautonium?
Can I get one of them Trautoniums over here? Nah, man, I need to represent what's going on in my head. I need a Trautonium.
Yeah, it needs to know. But I think the company,
what is it?
it's one of the first. It's very German. It's one of the first synthesizers, if not the first synthesizer, made by, I think his name is Paul Hindemith, and the guy who developed it was a guy called Oskar Sala, and it is like this big module, like a module synthesizer. With oscillators and different stuff, and then you play on strings. And there's a very good reason why the Trautonium didn't really become
take off.
Because it's impossible. It's not impossible, but it's really difficult to play. And it's potentially lethal, because if you don't plug it into a power plug with earth,
Yeah.
you will be electrocuted.
To
Co-
death.
Yeah.
That's great. I
It's
love that thing. No wonder they're popular in Germany.
Play it at your own risk.
But wait,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Germany.
Are they still around? Can you buy them in stores or?
No.
But
No, you can't.
how'd you find one?
So there was this guy who was trained, I think, by Oscar Sala. This modern composer who gave his life to the instrument, and his pupil is
And
now.
right on his deathbed, he's like, "Fuck! I should have stuck to the piano."
Yes. Well, his pupil, he's the only one who had the manual to make it, and he's the one who made it for me, and I think a guy in Norway.
Wow.
So it's a remake, but it's not. I even think he went bankrupt
Did
or
they
something.
fix the ground issue, or that exists in the
That
remake?
certainly still exists, yeah.
I mean, all they would need to do is change the plug out.
Couldn't take that out.
Well, like,
Yeah.
how much does one of those set you back?
10,000 euros.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
And you bought one?
yeah.
Damn.
Well, it's custom
Damn.
made. Come
Well,
on.
10,000.
me and this
It's a
Norwegian guy are the only ones who have one.
Wow.
And it sounds great. It's just super difficult to play, and you can't tour with it, and I still don't really master it, to be honest. For me, it's a friend of mine called Daniel. He's much better at playing it, so he's been helping me out with playing it. But the idea was to make a whole album on it. But it was just so difficult to play these metal strings. It's not like playing a piano.
Yeah. So it just made its way on a few overdubs, and that was it. And you should put it on eBay for $300. No, I'm just
Money
kidding.
well spent.
It's a joke.
No. Well, I'm actually not a gear nerd at all. I tell you that
Yeah.
like the synthesizer guys, they will love the Trautonium. So it has a cool factor for these guys.
Yeah.
And I just have a few synthesizers, and this one is really unusual. And like unusual synthesizer can cost millions.
Yeah.
It's not really so expensive, but I have to admit I find it really difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get a Moog 1.
Oh.
Don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Duh.
She's like, I got
doesn't?
3 of them.
Of course.
Nah, man, they're like, those are another one. They're
Yeah?
like 6, 7, probably $6,000.
It's a full synth.
It's Moog is like usually like a single voice. Nah, well yeah, they make pedals too, but a synthesizer, usually a mono synth. This one has like 8 voices, so it's like 8 Moogs, and then you can
And
play
you
like.
can't get an app for that. You need the
Nah,
actual
hell
Moog
no,
thing.
nah. It's intense.
Do you use apps ever to record? Or
What's that? Apps?
Yeah, like on the phone. We're trying, like you were talking about what technology does to us. Do you use it in any way?
I use as a voice recorder.
Yeah.
Just
I have
for
a tuner.
When Joe plays live, he incorporates an iPad and
Oh.
samples and sort of
Sometimes.
brings it
Yeah.
into modern age and makes full use of it.
Yeah, but I know. I just talked with my sound engineer yesterday night about a band from Denmark where all the instruments are from iPads.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting up iPads on stage.
That's
And
funny.
we were talking about how, my keyboard could just be like several iPads.
Yeah.
I could just like that, and then, yeah.
Well, you certainly can incorporate it if you want. I mean.
Yeah. But how do you use the iPad?
I mean, I use it because I use a looper and I'll plug an aux cable into the iPad. Usually, I do most of my percussion sounds from the guitar, but every once in a while, I'll have a drum machine on it, and I'll just use instead of a drum machine.
Yeah.
It's a real simple thing,
Okay, cool.
and I don't always use it. It's not necessary. It's just another thing.
Yeah. But isn't there a problem with the iPads that, if you have that cable in, how do you recharge it? Well, how do you don't risk that it goes out of runs out of battery?
I have my iPad has the old 1/8 inch in it, so I can have the 1/8 inch in and charging it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just the new iPads. A problem. Or I guess you get a splitter.
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade.
I don't know. How did you get into music in the first place? Where'd you grow up?
So I am from Denmark, and I grew up in Copenhagen, a little bit north of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And and my father was very interested in music. He wasn't doing music professionally when I was a kid, but he had when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And he was collecting instruments. So I grew up with a lot of instruments around, and I was sent to a sort of school where we had a lot of music. It was not sort of I don't know what you call it, a hippie school where you were sort of
like an art-based school.
Yeah, you could sort of choose the creative things you want to explore, and I always was for some reason interested in the music thing, so I did a lot there and went to piano, and I played in some bands early on and continued playing in bands. And yeah, I don't know, it's so hard to know why you end up, but I just when I was in high school, I actually dropped out of high school to study recording because I got this idea I wanted to become a producer.
Well, and you are one.
Yes. Yeah, now.
Absolutely. I mean, for your own records anyway.
Yeah, for my own records, yeah.
Yeah, so you had a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know where I got that idea from, but I had friends who were instrumentalists, and they wanted to go to conservatory and play a very high level, skill level, their instrument.
Yeah.
And I could feel I was not that kind of musician. I didn't feel like really high on sitting playing for 6 hours and practice scales or something. This wasn't my thing. So I was just trying to figure out what it was that was so interesting, and we recorded on tape there at that school, and we used Cubase, and there was a lot of boys obviously, and many of them were into hip hop, and there was like all kinds of music, and then I met a guy who was starting a studio, and then he brought me into the studio, and he sort of told me a lot of things, and we ended up having a band together, and at the same time I played piano and wrote songs on piano, and
how old were you here?
This is when I was 17. Yeah.
And how long have you been writing songs by then?
On piano, I've been writing them since I was I don't know, 12. But I hadn't really mastered this with writing lyrics. That was when I met this guy. His name was Elton, and then I started writing lyrics with him. But he was much better at it than I was. And but I also had other projects, and then at some point I ended up working alone, and I think it was also because of my partner, the tall guy who was here before. He was saying that he liked much more the stuff I was just playing at home on the piano, and why I didn't work alone, why I always had to work with others, and he in a way said like, you should just set up a little studio at home. It was really him saying it to me instead of going to other studios all the time. And then I did that, and then when I moved to Berlin when I was 25, I lost all my sort of musical connections, so I really had to work alone. And I immediately got the idea I wanted to make my own album, or at least I had all these piano songs that I felt like I was starting to forget. So I had to just record them, and then I started recording them so I didn't forget them. And that became my first album, and then things took off from that.
How long did it take you to record them?
Well, I was also studying, so it was sort of on and off. But I think all in all 2 years. Yeah.
And you have like a pretty seemingly intense work ethic, but do you ever grapple with like procrastination and like stuff like that? Like, do you struggle to get to a place of being in the flow, or what's that like for you?
Yeah, I think procrastination has something to do with as soon as something is really important for you, like some yeah, you then you can start to build expectations of how you want it to be, and then you have the risk of failing those expectations, and then that's when you start to procrastinate.
From fear.
From fear, yeah. At least in my case. So like, I really have like some ideas about. I often have that of something I want to make, you know, and then I can get the fear that I'm not able to do it. That it won't be as cool as it is in my head, and then I start procrastinating. So I have had problems with it, but I do sort of things to trick myself so I don't create these expectations. But yeah, but
what are those things?
It's just like trying to work with no expectations. Like even if I have it, I just forget about it and just do it for fun. Like trick myself into just having fun with it and just
yeah. That's so key.
Yeah.
Because when you're first starting out and you're just developing or discovering your voice, you don't have the weight of those expectations, and it's such a celebration of creativity. Yeah. And every idea seems like, oh, let me chase this and see what this does, and well, that's cool, and everything's like a thing. But then, like, once you go into it, then it's like the opposite comes in, and it's like too much, like, expectation, beating yourself up. Oh, this isn't good enough. Like comparing yourself to others. Who were some of your early influences? Like, and who are your influences now? Like, do you have any songwriters? And I know you have like classical influences, like Eric Satie is a big one of yours, right?
Yeah. I really like also Ravel and Debussy.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you can say they're sort of similar in their approach. That the music pieces not always have like a clear beginning and end where you end on the.
Da-da.
Yeah, exactly. I feel it's like, I don't know, for me it's like more like how I experience things, because things are not like so linear in experience. It's more like a cluster of, I don't know, of feelings and moods and impressions. And so I've always felt very connected to this music because I feel the same way. But I don't know.
Is there any like contemporary, like even pop songwriters that you rate or that you are inspired by?
Pop.
Or not necessarily pop, but just like, you know, when I say pop, I even mean like Radiohead, like, you know, like things that aren't classical. Like,
Yeah.
Are you a Kate Bush fan at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, I did not listen so much to Kate Bush.
Right.
But people ask me so much about it, so I say yeah. But for example, I listen much more to Joni Mitchell.
Right.
I think when I discovered her music, I really liked the thing that it's so idiosyncratic. It's she just has a sound, and it's like it's so much her.
Yeah.
And it's so strong somehow.
Yeah.
So that had some impact. Yeah.
They probably compare you to Kate Bush more because you're not playing an acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah. I guess I have a high voice, and actually find out if I pitch my voice a little bit like two semitones, you get closer to the Kate Bush sound. And Dolly Parton, I can also pitch it up.
Yeah.
Get close to that, but I'm not. I don't know her music extremely well, but I like it. But if I should, Cocktail Twins, for example, I
love them. Yeah.
I really love this too, but and Scott Walker. It's something later I discovered.
Doesn't he like use meat as a percussion instrument in the studio? Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah.
Meat.
Yeah, he brought in like a slab of meat and was beating it.
Yeah.
He's beating his meat. Yeah, sorry.
As the snare or what?
I don't know. This is one of the things I read at one of the times he was putting out a record.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, was that Drift or Tilt?
I don't know.
No, anyway. For me, Scott Walker was so important because so I knew about his music. I actually knew him from that guy Elton I play with, and I knew his earlier stuff, which is great. But it was when I heard the Electrician, which is a song he made for an album from 78 or 9 with the Walker Brothers, that I realized that music or a song, a pop song, could be like a way of stepping into the mind of another person and experiencing. So in a way I knew that, but that each sound in the production is informed by this experience.
How, in what way?
So the Electrician is like this amazing song, you know, and
Right.
it's, for me it's a nightmare.
Right.
You know, you're in the nightmare, and it's like it starts with this I don't know, sort of synthesizer sound or keyboard sound, and then, or is it a bass? I don't know. I can't really say. But then when the chorus comes, the whole song transforms into a sort of more of a dream, and there's like acoustic guitar, and it's it's really, and the lyrics are so absurd. Like if you push the handle, I'll die in my sleep. He's singing, and
if you push the handle, I'll die my sleep.
Yeah,
it's like cut up type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but that for me, that was like, okay, that's pretty much how I experience many of my dreams in that sense. And then, so yeah, I felt like, okay, I feel like I know him so well after this, and I also felt that production could in a way be songwriting, because you are telling the story, not just with words and melody, but you're telling it with each little sound.
Yeah. Your work does that. You have that. And by the way, your Tiny Desk concert was off the chain.
You think so?
Fuck yeah! You don't think so?
I have to tell you, I never watched it because I'm so afraid of watching myself.
Listen,
just listen to it.
I'll tell you what, it's great. And the band you assembled for it is like all female, and then they're singing.
Yeah.
You know, like all your different voices almost. It's like really, what one thing, because I do a lot of self-recording and multiple me voices, harmonies, things too sometimes. But I never thought to bring like representatives of that, really. Like every time it's live, it's just a different thing then.
No.
But you sort of like really preserved that energy into great effect. And everybody played together in this very interesting way. Like one time it was percussion instruments and everybody seemed super into it. I was wondering how you sort of orchestrated that, because it was really effective and well done.
Oh, thank you. But
yeah.
I have to say, the live is also very much the people I'm playing with.
Right.
So, like,
where'd you find them? Because they seem great. Is
yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
They are great. It's like, for example, I think Christina, she's a cello player, but in that session she's playing goat feet, which is like actually disgusting. It's dried goat feet. It's like I don't know if it's
when
a
she
Turkish.
Throws it up in the air.
Yeah. It's a Turkish instrument.
It's just a percussion thing, right?
Yeah.
She was tossing it though, like to the beat, perfect. I'm like, damn, that seems like
that's cool.
it's like takes some skills.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so yeah, it's. I feel like of course, I'm the one with all the opinions all the time, but I've learned that it gets much more interesting when the others can come with their ideas, and I think it was Christina's idea with the goat feet and so on. You know, like and also people can develop their own parts and
so you're not like a dictator, like people are kind of contributing. Or
well, as of course sometimes I can be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't play it that folky, or maybe that's too romantic, or I can have sort of, for example, we are doing the new album and there's a song called Broken Sleep, and then because I know that song is also about nightmares, and so I wanted it to sound like nightmares at the end, but as soon as the others know it's about a nightmare, then they'll try to interpret it. Yeah.
It'll be too much of an. It'll be a cartoon nightmare all of a sudden. You want it to be a real nightmare.
Yeah. No, but no, I like to hear their version of the nightmare, but they maybe immediately would play it really beautifully and like a dream, you know. And so that's maybe where I will go and interfere.
I see.
But otherwise, I really like the ideas and yeah.
Is that your touring band now, or do you tour solo, or?
No, yeah, I'm touring with Christina with the goat feet.
Yeah.
She's playing cello and looping and singing, and then I have English percussionist. She's not in that session, but she's really great. She's also playing mallet and singing, and I'm playing with a Dutch viola player who's also looping her viola and singing.
All female.
Wow.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
female,
yeah, and we are all from different countries, so. So it's a great cultural encounter.
Are you touring in a Sprinter, on a bus? How are you touring? How are you traveling?
We are touring on a bus.
On a bus.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed too in a lot of your productions is there's not much like you kind of steer away from heavy beats, drums. It seems like you keep it open or something.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose? Obviously it's on purpose, but is it thought about, or is it just that's how it happened, or is there a reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I feel drums have a very strong aesthetical style to it. Like as soon as you hear drum, you hear a musical style.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to sort of make my drums myself with by hitting stuff and using the piano. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have my shoe beat, which I make with my sandal.
Right.
And or use cello bow or stuff like that. And I think why I've tended to do it like that is because I want to avoid this very strong stylistic indications in the music.
You want to keep it out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And a drum tends to box something in anyway, just by its very nature. Even outside of the style of it, it literally it does ground things. Yeah. Whereas I feel like your music is floating or in the sea kind of thing, like what you were saying. Yeah.
But I want to learn about it. I love drums, you know, and I want to. It's one of those instruments I have to learn about, and then I think there'll come more drums in my music. And I also love this when you use drums really sparse. It's like you just have a snare once.
Yeah.
And then it comes back again, you know, it's like that. But I'm still learning about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, do you ever do soundtrack stuff? Have you been?
Actually, I did it when I was a student. I've done some soundtracks for friends and student films.
Yeah.
But here later on, I haven't really done so much. Yeah, it's I actually tried to do one, but they fired me.
What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a Hollywood thing, and actually, the guy who ended up making it is one of my friends. So yeah, it's funny. Small world. But I also realized that I probably don't fit into the world of soundtracks.
Did you get fired because you didn't like being sort of told what to do or guided or in that kind of way?
Yeah, I don't know exactly why. So they promised me I could do exactly what I wanted, but that, you know, it wasn't maybe the case. And I understand it's like a big project to make a film, and the soundtrack is just a tiny bit, and I don't want to be too professional. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to lose this thing that I like it, and it's in a way my favorite hobby in a way. And if you become too good at creating certain emotions, too aware of it,
right,
I'm afraid that I'm sort of corrupting something that is special to me. So I was in a way quite relieved when he called the director and said like, yeah, we're not gonna work with you anymore. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm really up for doing it again. I really like be controlled by my own imagination and not trying to sound like Avopert or
Yeah.
getting all these mood music and trying to replicate that. I think that's other people are much better at doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but your music does lend itself to sort of
Soundscapes.
sounds. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Pictures.
Yeah.
So, do you like New York?
Yeah, I do. Of course.
How long are you going to be here for?
Oh, we are here tomorrow.
2 shows in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
At
And then
National Sawdust.
yeah. Are you guys coming?
Maybe. Yeah, when is it
It's
tomorrow?
16th and 17th, right? If I remember
Tomorrow?
correctly.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
I'd like to come.
Tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the Blue Note.
Yeah. Can we get on the guest list?
Yeah.
All right.
I've never been to National Sawdust. That's right near Music Hall of Williamsburg.
I think it's a small venue, and
Never been.
and it's supposed to. So I've never been there either, but it's supposed to be sort of wide, and that's nice. So you're close to the audience.
Kind of like the Troubadour in L.A.
Oh yeah, I was just there. Yeah.
You ever play there?
No, I never played there, but I saw a great concert there just a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's really cool.
Who'd you see?
Pixies.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Are you a fan?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So you like just like straight up rock and roll too and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. What
I just have 2 short questions. One is, since you produced and mixed and recorded the last album, in the past, did anyone, since you're on a label and your new album's coming out on a new European label, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a big classical label, isn't it?
What is it called?
Deutsche Grammophon.
Right, I couldn't say it. Deutsche Grammophon.
Deutsche Grammophon.
Did someone ever come to you and say, hey, just try this producer once, or like give the tracks to someone and see what happened, and you were okay with it, or it never came up? And the second question is, why did you decide to sing in English?
Those are good questions.
That's very good questions. Okay. So
Oh man.
good job.
Just because it's probably hard in it. It's just, I
Yeah.
always wonder why the Europeans, obviously English is like the international
Do
language.
you always sing in
but-
English?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my 2 questions.
So let's start with the English one. The school I went to was an international school. So when we were all together, the whole school, which we were quite often for some reason, we sang in English. So that was before I spoke and understood English. And all the music we played there, as far as I remember, was in English. I played in a children's band where I sang Prince songs and stuff like that in English. I think I sang Cream, and I had no idea what that song was about.
Really?
Princess Cream?
Yeah, Prince.
I love
Cream.
that song.
Yeah.
It's a great song. But I was
Odd
like
choice.
10, you know.
Doesn't that have your filthy cute baby? You know it. You know it. Cream. Get
Yeah.
on top.
Exactly.
Cream.
Stop.
You can't stop. Cream. Shamona rock. Something like
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
I'm English. I don't even know what he's saying, but anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. But I sort of got a sense what the song was about quite late. I was like, oh. But
Well, what? It's about getting on Cream Rises. Like you're taking it in the other place. Okay. It gets both things, I guess.
it could be both.
It's both.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
I
thing.
mean, Prince. You know.
Yeah. So I was used to singing in English, and I haven't sung so much in Danish. And I think, so I think in a way I feel so music and English is connected in my mind. It makes sense, and I can sort of, my imagination can grow. Is feeding on it in a way. I will also listen a lot to the sound of it, and I don't know if it's like that for you because it's not your first language.
It's in my case, it sort of is, but
It sort of is,
I
okay.
prefer English. But
Yeah. Okay, but But it's like, for example, there's some words in English where I really get like all this imagery in my mind. And maybe because I never had to sort of do my tax returns or whatever in English or something, you know, or so it's so linked to music and films also. So I can really get a lot of ideas from it. And and the sound of it, I really like it in music. I think I could also sing in other languages, but I'm not sure about Danish because it doesn't. Maybe, but I have to find a way. But for example, Swedish. I listened to a lot of Swedish music as a kid, so I have also a relationship to that language in music, and I find it very musical and beautiful. And so I think that's how it is for me personally. And then, of course, you know, I don't live in Denmark. And I don't know if the Germans or the French or the would understand, but I don't know. Maybe I could do an album in Danish, but it's, for me personally, it's English has made sense because of the way I was taught the language through music, you know. But I don't know. It's hard for me because I don't know how it is for you, for example. So you both grew up with English, and how it is then for you to sing in English, I guess. How if that's like, it's hard to know this when you have several languages, and for me, each language I know has represents something differently. But I do struggle with, like, people don't understand what I'm singing, and also when I speak English, it's very often the case.
How difficult is writing lyrics for you?
It depends. Like the song "It's Happening Again," that just came with the song, and also there's a song I wrote called "Riverside." It came so easily. It was like the piano melody was telling me this is what the song is about, water, and and then other songs are like longer processes, and I just give up on them and go back to them sometimes. So, but I'm much more into sound than words. I'm not gonna be a poet or something, and that would be very poor poetry in that case. And I don't think it would help.
So if you like the sound of the words, but not necessarily the meaning, sometimes you'll let it go like that, or sound trumps meaning.
Well, I think you like the sound of the word because of the meaning.
Yeah.
So I don't believe you can.
No, I feel you on that.
No.
Yeah.
Do you ever use words for sounds in songs? Just in disregard?
Well, when I'm writing, a lot of times, if I'm writing from the music first, then it'll be like phonetic sounds that will then lend themselves to certain words that will then coalesce into meaning. But I agree with what you said, though. No. You like the sound because, you know, I think words are enormously powerful. I've been like really thinking recently more too about how we speak our reality. We speak reality into existence. I'm really cautious of what I say, like mental habits. I saw a songwriter friend on the street yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was like, "I'm just struggling with writer's block." And I was just like, "Listen, stop saying that to everyone you see, because you're going to keep creating that reality. In fact, next person you see or next person you talk to, just say, hey, I'm really excited that I'm in the flow. Just start speaking what you want into reality." So it's like, because our words are so powerful. And we unconsciously often just say whatever, like speak negative things that we don't want into existence, and we keep reinforcing it. So,
yeah, that's true. That's really true.
You know.
Yeah, maybe that's also why music can be such a relief from words in many ways.
Yeah.
Or it can be a new way of finding yourself, find a way into language again that is more poetic and open, and because we have all these language habits.
Yeah. And well, exactly.
And I do find music in a way like when I look at listen to language, it's different through the lens of music, and it's suddenly the functionality of the language is different in a musical context. So it's freed up in a way. I would love to be able to do it with Danish, but maybe later.
Maybe one day. But like, this happens a lot too, because I think songwriting is a form for the subconscious to be communicating to me, and something that's got much more intelligence and much more vision than the small I has, or than the small me has, you know. But a lot of times songs will be sort of prophetic. Like, I don't know if because of the power of music, you can speak those realities into existence as well. But like, have you ever had the experience of a song like that you wrote, say, 3 years ago, reflecting a current reality in a way that's shocking?
Yeah.
Like,
it's terrifying.
Right?
Yeah, it's so scary.
It's bonkers. I'm so, like, in fact, I'll get to the point where, like, I'll start writing some dark shit lately, and I'll just be like, nope, not gonna write. Like, it'll be a good song, and I'll be like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, but when I was younger, I would just go for whatever. Like, oh my god, killer, a song. Now it'll be like, nope.
Yeah,
like,
no, I don't wanna.
Yeah, I don't want to create this reality.
Yeah.
But can you speak on that a little bit? Like,
yeah, I also noticed it with other songwriters.
Yeah.
This, do you know about Lasse de Sela?
Who's that?
She was amazing singer from Montreal.
The was in that sense is spooky.
No.
'Cause she had that song that she wrote, I'm gonna die soon, and then
Yes.
no, really?
Yeah.
I was kind of making a joke.
No, it's true.
Well,
exactly. I think it's the song.
fuck,
I'm
dude.
going in. And
What's her name?
Lasse de Sela. She's amazing. Yeah.
And
It's one of the most beautiful songs I know. It's called I'm Going In. And I think she's saying goodbye to her partner and giving him advice on the funeral.
oh my god, it's specific like that.
Specific. And then she's going in. And that was before she was diagnosed. I think she didn't. It was prophetic.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
It is. That's definitely.
And so scary, but also very beautiful. And I don't know how it must have been for him to hear that song. Yeah, but I don't have something like that. But I have, like, with small things that happened. Yeah, like sometimes I feel like we are so much more wise when we are just open and listening without having ourselves involved in a way. And I feel like that's what can happen sometimes with music. You know, you're like, you forget about yourself. It's so wonderful. You're just like away from it. And then you actually can see all these things that maybe seem prophetic. I don't know if it's the mind that's making sense of it later on, or it's because you can sense stuff that's on the way.
Yeah. I like my new song. It goes like this. Love my new mansion. Love all this money that I'm sleeping on. No. Love my new Tesla driving wherever I want to go. All my friends and family.
Love me.
Love me. And I love everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Let's see. Let's meet in 10 years and
see if that one works. See if that one took.
So how's a mansion?
You think it's a hit or what?
So when is the new one coming out? Actual date? This month or next month?
It's coming out February 21st.
Okay.
February 21st.
In a month.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever listen to, like, Abraham Hicks or any, like, self-helpy, like, well, like, she's like a manifest person, like that, like, do you have any kind of self-help therapy vibes or anything? Like, are you involved in any of that, or is music just lifting all the heavy weight for you?
Actually, I just recently started to listen to a podcast. Now I don't remember the name of it, which is has like tips on for example, negativity or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Is it called "Come to Where I'm From"?
That's what I was gonna say.
Because we do that here too. For instance.
Well, I have to say, because you said this with thoughts and stuff we're saying,
Yeah.
I also feel there's something very lonely or alienating if you always have to pretend you're happy. And
Yeah.
so I don't think you should always say the worst things, but I also think it'd be nice if there's room for saying, okay, I'm just having a crappy day today, and I'm
melancholy.
my dog died. It's horrible, and it's fair enough. You can't just be jolly all the time.
No, of course not. No, but it's good to be conscious of the fact that you're creating your reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it. It's it's just good to be aware that you're responsible for your own space.
When I listen to that podcast, I really, it's talking about how thoughts become emotions, and then you can control your thoughts, and then you can control your emotions.
Yeah.
But I do find that as an ideology, it's putting too much on the individual. I have,
so?
a little bit.
You don't think so? You don't think that people create their own reality?
I think some people, somebody gets cancer, somebody's homeless. It's not their fault. That's something that happens.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know the whole answer, but yeah, I'm not what do you call it? No, we create our own reality, damn it.
This interview is over.
This interview is over if you're going to speak like that. It's that homeless guy's fault, god damn it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I don't know. Yeah, because people are born in, obviously in abject poverty sometimes and stuff like that, so it's hard to get your mind around that kind of shit too. Yeah. It's easier to say, oh yeah, we create our own reality when you're kind of doing somewhat all right.
Yeah, I feel part of me is actually not such a big fan of this self-help because it puts too much on the individual. But I do think you should take responsibility for your thoughts and stuff like that. But there's so many things going on.
But you can try.
You can certainly try.
You can try, and there's I'm somebody that has struggled with depression way in the past because I'm aware of what I'm saying. Not now. Not struggling now at all. Loving it. Loving life. But, so I'm aware that, I can bend it one way or the other. Yeah. To a degree.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. To a degree.
To a degree.
It's, we also don't know much about consciousness.
Right.
We barely know what it is.
Yeah.
So to just say all emotions are just your thoughts.
Yeah.
But we still can't barely define thoughts, and there's so different kinds of way of thoughts.
And where do they even come from?
Yeah.
We're programmed.
Exactly.
Well, this might be a simulation, according to lots of people lately.
We are still sleeping right now.
Yeah.
We are lying in big glass balls somewhere.
We're Citizen Glass.
Yeah.
Having a myopic vision in Citizen Glass.
Yeah, I do think some of the self-help is lacking humility and understand that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even when we talk about music, I like that piece of music, or what is that thing that's judging what you like?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that either.
Yeah.
We do know it's something to do with the cultural thing and what is valued for some reason, but why is it valued? Then you go into that rabbit hole. But then again, can it also be some chemical thing? Can it be what you just drank before? Can it be what you grew up with?
Right.
It's so many things, and we talk about it like it's an objective truth.
Yeah.
And we don't know why.
That's true. Do you what do you think happens when we die? I mean, if we die, because who knows? We could end up being the first immortal humans. I'm thinking, it's possible once they start injecting us with tiny robots.
Yeah.
That heal our organs.
So we are like dust first, you know,
Yeah.
in the universe. Then we're born, and then we die, and then become dust again, you know. So we're like born into dust. We're like stars or something, maybe, but I don't know.
That's the physical part more, but what about the spirit?
Yeah.
What about your soul?
And I think in that case maybe I have some metaphysical beliefs, because I don't think the mind is just physical matter. It's not just the brain. I really believe in the spirit and the soul, but so I think this. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but I do sense that the mind is more than matter.
But you don't have any idea about what's going to happen afterwards?
No, I'm agnostic, I guess.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, it almost rhymes with your name.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
All right. Well,
cool.
This has been fun. I hope I hope it wasn't too painful.
No, it was really nice.
Was it okay?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I really appreciate what you're putting out into the world.
Thank you.
So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you never answered his question about if they tried to rope you in with a producer, though.
Well, they did.
They
did.
And it just didn't work. Did you try that? I was just curious if you just gave it a shot and saw and listened to what came back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not like a really overly
overshare.
No, confident person. I'm actually I feel like I really overshare. But anyway, I tried this with producers twice.
You said you are an overly confident person.
I'm not. I'm not.
So
I've this just psychologically,
but
when you make an album, to know like, oh, there's gonna come a producer later and fix everything.
Yeah.
That's a great power, and I've certainly worked with that. And then when that happened, they didn't fix anything. They
made it worse.
Yeah, they didn't get it, or there was sort of
put a beat on it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Let's put this hip hop beat on it.
Yeah, I was shocked. I said the first time I heard the production of my first album, I broke down in tears. You know, it was not what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it can't happen.
But you're confident in record making, I feel like. You're confident in music, I feel like.
I guess on music I am.
You are. You exude that.
I do that. Okay.
Yeah, you do.
She has the vision.
You exude it.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's one place something is good as exuding.
Stop saying that.
Stop.
There's many places. You're speaking your reality.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Come on.
Oh, my God, yeah. Everywhere.
Everywhere. It's amazing. Holy shit. I love this life. Oh my God, everything's great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have kids? You and your husband?
No. We have a dog. Yeah, that's a sour kid.
Any interest in kids?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just I've so far touring and making albums has been not very kid friendly.
No, it's not that kid friendly.
No, but I would love to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, and then so from New York, where are you going? American tour, or what's happening? When's the album dropping? February? What? That I said dropping? Did that make you laugh? What made you laugh? I was like, why did I say dropping? I never say that. It just popped out of my mouth. What's funny?
No, this is something funny.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not going to tell me?
Yeah, no, but we're going to LA. We're going to LA and playing two shows at the Masonic Lodge. And then we go home, do some promo, and then the real sort of big tour starts. Okay. And then we'll be back in April in New York City, opening for a band called Dead Can Dance.
Oh, yeah, killer.
Where? Webster Hall or something? Where are they playing?
Radio Music Hall.
Radio City Music Hall. Boom.
City Music Hall.
Wow.
That's 5,000 people. That's great.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I can't wait to see that. Yeah. and also some other beautiful places. I think in Chicago and in LA we're playing this huge venue, and in Mexico City, and so I'm like super excited
That'll
about.
give you more exposure, that tour.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see their set too. They're playing with medieval instruments that has to be perfectly.
Hey, maybe you could sell them that synthesizer.
I'm like,
have I got a synth for you?
That's funny.
I hope they're not gonna watch this.
Unload it.
There's only 2 of these. Careful about where you plug it in, though. Oh man!
So the only instrument with a disclaimer may cause death.
All right. Well,
thank you
for doing this. Appreciate it. Yeah. See ya all.
Thank
See
you.
ya everybody. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come-to-where-I'm-from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.